Welcome, seeker of wisdom, to Pulse of Awareness, your sanctuary for timeless philosophy and profound insight. Today, we explore wabi-sabi, the Japanese art of finding extraordinary beauty in the ordinary imperfections that surround us and define our human experience. Stay with us until the very end, for within this ancient wisdom lies the key to liberating yourself from the exhausting pursuit of perfection and discovering peace in things exactly as they are. First, the philosophical foundations of wabi-sabi and its spiritual roots. In the misty mountains of 16th century Japan, tea master Sun no Rikyu transformed the elaborate tea ceremony into something radically simple and profoundly beautiful. He rejected the golden tea utensils of wealthy nobles in favor of rough, handmade pottery that bore the marks of its creation and the fingerprints of its maker. This revolutionary act was not mere aesthetic preference, but a spiritual declaration rooted in Zen Buddhist principles of finding enlightenment in the mundane. Wabi-sabi emerged from the Buddhist teachings of the three marks of existence: impermanence, suffering, and the absence of permanent self. The word itself carries layers of meaning that resist simple translation, like poetry that loses its essence when rendered in prose or interpreted too literally. Wabi originally described the loneliness of living in nature, removed from society, while sabi suggested the beauty that comes with age and wear. Together, these concepts evolved into a comprehensive worldview that sees beauty not despite imperfection, but because of it, not in avoiding decay, but in honoring it. Ancient Zen monks understood that our suffering often stems from clinging to permanence in a universe defined by constant change and transformation. They recognized that the cherry blossom is most beautiful precisely because it blooms for only a few precious days before falling to earth. The tea master's weathered bamboo water ladle tells stories of 1,000 ceremonies, each use adding character rather than diminishing value. In Japanese temple gardens, rocks are arranged not in perfect symmetry, but in natural asymmetry that mirrors the organized chaos of wilderness. The moss that grows on these stones is not removed, but celebrated as part of the garden's living story and evolving beauty. This philosophy stands in stark contrast to the Western tradition that has long idealized eternal youth, pristine condition, and mathematical perfection. Where classical Greek sculpture sought to capture the human form at its most perfect moment frozen in timeless marble beauty, wabi-sabi embraces the crooked, the weathered, the incomplete. It asks us to consider whether a smoothly polished surface is more honest than one that shows the natural grain and knots of wood. It challenges our assumption that newness equals beauty and suggests that true elegance emerges through the patient passage of time and experience. Second, the aesthetic principles that define wabi-sabi in art and daily life. When a precious tea bowl slips from trembling hands and shatters on the floor, most cultures see tragedy and irreparable loss. The Japanese tea master, however, sees an opportunity for transformation through the ancient art of kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with lacquer mixed with gold. The repaired bowl becomes more valuable than before because its cracks tell a story, and the golden seams illuminate its history like veins of precious metal. This practice embodies the wabi-sabi principle that scars and repairs are part of an object's beauty, not blemishes to hide or reasons for shame. In Japanese architecture, the aesthetic manifests in structures that breathe with the seasons, incorporating natural materials that age gracefully and honestly over time. Wooden beams darken with smoke from hearth fires, floors develop a patina from countless footsteps, and buildings settle into the earth like old friends. The tea house itself is often small and deliberately rustic, with low doorways that require even nobility to bow upon entering as an act of humility. Walls may be made of simple mud mixed with straw, and the roof might be thatched with materials that will need replacing within years. In the alcove called the tokonoma, A master might display a single scroll painting with calligraphy that appears effortlessly brushed but required years of practice to achieve. Beside it, perhaps a simple flower arrangement using a crooked branch that would be discarded in formal Western floristry finds profound meaning here. The principles of wabi-sabi extend to pottery forms that are intentionally irregular, with glazes that pool and crack in unpredictable ways during firing. The potter surrenders control to fire and chance, embracing whatever emerges from the kiln as a collaboration between human intention and natural forces. In contemporary Japanese design, you'll find this aesthetic in the deliberate asymmetry of plating in haute cuisine, where food is arranged to suggest natural landscapes. The negative space on the plate is as important as what occupies it, creating balance through tension rather than symmetry and mirror images. Even in fabric arts, the philosophy appears in the beauty of burrow textiles, garments patched and repatched so many times they become abstract artworks of necessity. These clothes tell stories of poverty transformed into poetry, of making do elevated to making beautiful, of survival becoming sacred art. The color palette of wabi-sabi favors earthy tones, subdued hues that echo nature in its quieter moments rather than its spectacular displays. Think the gray-brown of river stones, the dusty green of aged bronze, the soft black of charcoal rather than the brilliant crimson of autumn maples. Third, the psychological liberation from embracing imperfection in ourselves. Western psychology has documented what Japanese philosophy intuited centuries ago. The pursuit of perfection is a path to suffering, not satisfaction or lasting happiness. When we demand flawlessness from ourselves, we create an internal tyrant whose standards can never be met no matter how hard we strive. The mirror becomes an enemy, each wrinkle a failure, each gray hair evidence of time's theft rather than badges of wisdom earned through years lived. We filter our photographs compulsively, curate our social media to present impossible personas, and exhaust ourselves maintaining facades that serve no one truly. Wabi-sabi offers radical liberation from this exhausting performance by inviting us to see our so-called flaws as essential parts of our authentic beauty. The laugh lines around your eyes are maps of joy, certificates of a life spent finding reasons to smile despite everything that tries to steal happiness. Your scars, whether visible on skin or invisible in memory, are not disfigurements but evidence that you survived what tried to break you. They are the kintsugi gold of your personal history, making you more beautiful precisely because you have been broken and have found the courage to heal. In Japan, there's a concept called mono no aware, the gentle sadness of transient things, which teaches us to find beauty in impermanence itself. This awareness that nothing lasts forever paradoxically deepens our appreciation of each moment rather than filling us with dread and anxiety about inevitable loss. When we stop fighting against the natural processes of aging, change, and imperfection, we discover energy we didn't know we possessed for living fully. The perfectionist spends their life in preparation, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect body, the perfect circumstances before they begin truly living. The wabi-sabi practitioner understands that this moment, imperfect as it is the only moment we actually possess to create meaning. This body, flawed as it feels, is the only vehicle we have for experiencing wonder, giving love, and making our unique contribution to existence. Research in positive psychology confirms what team masters knew by intuition. Self-compassion leads to greater well-being than harsh self-criticism ever could achieve. When we treat ourselves with the kindness we might show a struggling friend, we paradoxically become more capable of positive change and growth. The freedom to be imperfect is the freedom to be human, to make mistakes, to learn, to grow through trial and error rather than remaining frozen. It's permission to create imperfect art, write imperfect words, Live an imperfect life that is nonetheless authentic, meaningful, and uniquely, irreplaceably yours to live fully. Fourth, practical applications of wabi-sabi for a meaningful, peaceful existence. Begin each morning not by checking your phone's curated highlight reel of others' lives, but by noticing something imperfectly beautiful in your immediate surroundings. Perhaps it's the way morning light illuminates dust motes dancing in air, or the chipped mug that fits perfectly in your hands each day. Create a small space in your home that embodies wabi-sabi principles, a simple altar or corner with found natural objects, things with history and texture. Let this space evolve organically rather than designing it to match some Pinterest perfect ideal, and watch it become more meaningful through its unforced simplicity. When choosing possessions, favor quality items made by human hands with visible marks of their creation over mass-produced perfection that all looks identical. A handmade bowl with slight irregularities connects you to its maker's hands in ways a factory product never can, creating relationship with objects. Practice the art of repair rather than replacement, learning to mend clothes, furniture, and relationships with the understanding that the repaired version has its own beauty. The visible stitches in a beloved sweater become part of its character, a testament to your unwillingness to discard what still serves you. Simplify your environment by removing things that don't serve a purpose or bring genuine joy, but don't turn this into another perfectionist obsession. The goal is not sterile minimalism, but thoughtful simplicity where each remaining object has room to breathe and be appreciated for what it truly is. In your relationships, practice accepting people as they are rather than maintaining elaborate fantasies of who you wish they would become with enough of your influence. Love that requires someone to be other than themselves is not love, but a form of control masquerading as affection and care. Develop appreciation for the seasonal nature of life by marking transitions and changes rather than clinging desperately to how things were in some imagined golden past. Keep a journal noting what changes you observe in nature, in yourself, in your circumstances, training your eye to see beauty in transformation itself. Learn to sit with imperfection, both internal and external, without immediately rushing to fix, change, or improve everything you encounter in daily life. Sometimes a weed growing through a crack in pavement has as much right to exist as the intentionally planted flowers nearby, and may even possess its own wild beauty. Make peace with good enough in areas that don't truly matter while reserving your excellence for what genuinely deserves your finest attention and care. Not everything requires equal effort, and the wisdom lies in discerning what deserves your limited energy, time, and perfectionist tendencies when they do occasionally serve you well. Fifth, accepting transience and finding beauty in life's inevitable changes. The Buddhist monk Dogen wrote that firewood does not become ash. Rather, firewood is firewood and ash is ash, each complete in its own moment of existence. This profound teaching asks us to see each stage of life and every object's existence as whole unto itself rather than merely steps toward or away from some idealized state. Your childhood self was not an inferior version awaiting improvement, but a complete human experiencing life with the consciousness appropriate to that specific moment. Your present self, with all its accumulated experience and inevitable wear, is not a degraded version of some younger ideal, but the full expression of everything you've lived. In Japanese culture, the appreciation of cherry blossoms, called hanami, is as much about gathering beneath falling petals as admiring those still clinging to branches. The cascade of falling blossoms is not mourned as loss, but celebrated as the completion of the flower's purpose, its final gesture of beauty before returning to earth. This acceptance of natural cycles extends to human life as well, with traditional cultures honoring elders not despite their age, but because of it. understanding that wrinkles and white hair represent lived wisdom that youth cannot possibly possess, no matter how intelligent or well-intentioned young people may be. When we resist aging, we waste precious energy fighting a battle that has never been won by anyone throughout human history since time itself began. Every product promising to reverse time's effects is selling you rejection of your own lived experience, asking you to erase the visible evidence of a life actually lived. Consider instead the wabi-sabi approach. Each gray hair is a teacher you've learned from. Each line on your face is an expression you've worn so often it left its mark. Each softening or changing of your body is evidence that you have been here, that you have participated fully in the messy, beautiful, painful, joyful reality of human existence. The seasons teach us that nothing remains static, that spring's tender green leaves will inevitably become autumn's glorious death display before winter's bare branches expose the tree's essential architecture. Yet we don't mourn each seasonal transition. Instead, we celebrate the unique beauty each phase offers to those wise enough to appreciate transformation itself. In relationships, accepting transience means releasing the fantasy of permanence that causes so much suffering when inevitably disappointed by reality. People grow and change, sometimes growing apart. And this is not failure, but the natural evolution of living beings who cannot remain frozen in time's amber. The greatest gift Wabi-sabi offers our mortality-haunted species is this. By fully accepting that everything passes, we become capable of truly treasuring what is here now. When we stop trying to freeze time, we can finally dance with it, moving gracefully through life's changes rather than rigidly resisting every alteration to our circumstances or ourselves. Thus, Wabi-sabi reveals itself not as mere aesthetic preference, but as a complete philosophy for living authentically in an impermanent world filled with beautiful imperfections. By embracing the weathered, the asymmetrical, and the incomplete, we free ourselves from exhausting perfectionism and discover profound peace in things exactly as they are, including ourselves. If this wisdom resonated with your spirit, honor Pulse of Awareness with your like. Share your thoughts in comments below, and subscribe to continue this journey toward awakened consciousness and authentic living.